Okay, big patch is coming, and we need to talk about it. Patch 8.8 over here, we got some nerfs to some important agents. Chamber, they've added some voice lines for Chamber. Good for him. But Cypher, let's talk about Cypher. So, since its update in 7.09, we've been excited to see Cypher solidify a stronger spot in the Sentinel roster, but it feel it's pushed his stalling power further than we'd like for an agent that specializes in global information. I think that this is fair, right? I think that's a fair point. And additionally, we've seen play patterns around the spy cam that lack counterplay. So, updates to Cypher's Trapwire. Give more time for the enemy to deal with it after it's been triggered, while the reduction to slow duration provides those core a slightly better chance to use movement to avoid death. So the rearm time, so this is when you, like if a Yoru clone hits a Cypher trip, and then, you see it, how quickly does it go back on? That's gone from 1 to 2 seconds, and the slow on the Trapwire has reduced from 2 to 1.25 seconds. I'm assuming that this means the, time that you're kind of stuck in the mud when you're running in a Trapwire, right? Are these nerfs like game-changing? Are they going to change Cypher too much? No, right? It is a nerf. You will feel it sometimes. This gap of the 1 to 2 seconds of the rearm will matter sometimes, but not often, not every game, right? Certainly not every situation. It will matter sometimes, but it's still fine, right? It's still Cypher, still good in the trips department. And they've also added a little audio telegraph for enemies who are being watched to provide those who are quietly moving a cue that they are being watched by the spy cam. So they will now hear a looping audio when they're being actively watched by Cypher within the cam. And this one for me, look, I don't love it because I think it's very funny when, you're just watching someone play the game and you're just watching them forever, and you're seeing like everyone on there. This, I think, is more for like those one-way cams. I think it's more for lower ranks, if I'm being honest, because again, at the higher ranks, and particularly the highest ranks and pro play, you commonly know where those one-way cams are. You know where the default camera positions are going to be. You're aware of, looking for that camera anyway, anytime you're playing against a Cypher. So this is more, I think, for the lower ranks, but this is fine. I don't have a massive problem with it either, to be honest. It's fine. I don't have a problem with it. Cypher is still pretty good. Viper, though, got some bigger nerfs, so let's talk about that. So, as you've continued to improve leveraging Viper's strengths, she's grown into a dominant meta force. With this update, we hope to solidify clear weaknesses that Viper has compared to her peers, while still maintaining her unique identity as a controller-sentinel hybrid. You should feel that Viper has to commit to her position and manage shorter individual uptimes per smoke use with her unique ability to control the smoke over time. So reduction in the total smoke uptime, coupled in the reduction in cooldown of reactivating, aim to reduce her total stalling uptime and push you to better manage her fuel. The poison cloud only being retrievable in the buy phase pushes you to sharp calls of where to put it, and reducing a snake bite to a single charge reduces how often a Viper can use ability to fill the gaps while her smokes are down. So all makes sense for me. So these are the changes. So the max uptime on each individual smoke was 15 seconds, and then they kind of silently nerfed it to 13.5, but now it's actually 12. So you can only have the wall up or the orb up for 12. One question I do have, and I don't know because it doesn't say here, is does this affect when both are up? I can't remember if both being up is like a percentage of what the individual one is, or if it's at a set time. I can't quite remember. If you could tell me in the comments, that would be great, because that might have a big impact on Viper. I don't know. But it doesn't say anything here, so I'm going to assume it doesn't affect it. Minimum fuel needed to activate the smoke has gone from 20 to 30%. This won't be a massive change, but it will be, there were definitely times where, you just needed a bit of fuel to reposition and everything's going chaotic. They're about to come in. You just need a bit of smoke to reposition. And so, it's now 30% instead of 20%. It doesn't matter that much, but it will affect some scenarios. Cooldown on reactivating smokes after putting them down has reduced. Again, I don't really... This seems to indicate that it reduced from 8 to 5.5, and I don't even remember that happening, so whatever. Poison Cloud can now only be picked up during the buy phase. We're going to go into Valorplant and talk about that, because it kind of affects different maps, different amounts. Snakebite, the charges have been reduced from 2 to 1. It now costs 300, and the duration has increased from 5.5 to 6.5. This is a big nerf. Like, this is a big nerf. Right, the way you should look at this is basically Viper's whole stall time here before was 11 seconds, right? You had 2 of 5.5. Now you have 1 of 6.5. Going from 11 to 6.5 seconds, that's a big change, right? That's a big gap in what they've changed there. So this is a big nerf, basically, all of the time, and will be felt. Okay, so now let's talk about this Viper orb change then, and how much it will impact Viper. And the truth of the matter is, On defense side, of course, it won't really matter, because on defense sides, you're often just putting this orb, you know, on a choke point. You're very rarely repositioning it on defense side anyway, so defense sides, this isn't really a change for the defense sides in general. It's more about the attack sides. So let's go through all the maps that are currently in the pool. Ascent. If you were playing Viper on Ascent, you're probably putting your orb in a couple positions. One might be in B main to get some B main control. You might have put it, you know, here in mid somewhere. And for these kind of positions, you know, these are positions where you would want to pick it up, right? Where it's not going to be as good anymore, because this is a position where you want to just take the control, pick it up, probably throw it, you know, for the post plant kind of stuff back here, and then go from there, right? Same for somewhere in mid. You might want to reposition it to somewhere like this, right? Like, you know, those will matter. There is a position on Ascent that I think you could throw it where you maybe weren't picking up, which is this, right? Where this orb gives you the potential chance to kind of threaten, you know, both of these kind of decisions, both of these pathing directions there for you. And also, yeah, sure, it's not in the perfect place for a post plant like this, but it's still in a position where, you know, if they are coming for a retake, they're going to have to run through a Viper orb, and that's not very good for them, right? So that can still matter if you do an orb like this, and can still be pretty good for you. Okay, on bind, obviously you're probably just putting the orb here. Again, to me, the big question is, does, you know, as long as you can still walk from here, you know, as long as you can still go from here to there, with the smokes up, Viper is still going to be very strong on this map. That's basically all that matters on this map, really. And yeah, sure, you were sometimes picking up the orb, putting it on the spike when you planted it. Sure, sometimes that was happening, but for the most part, as long as, you know, you can still walk down here, that is the main strength of Viper on attack side on this map. So yeah, that's the main deal. On Breeze not being able to pick the orb, I really don't think matters at all, really, because you're often putting it, you know, somewhere in mid, maybe by doors, somewhere here in nest, maybe down holes here as well, right? This was one of the, and you weren't commonly pick, you know, you're not picking it back up from nest, you're not picking it back up from the end of hole, right? Like you're just not picking this up a lot of the time. So on Breeze, I don't think you'll feel that change really at all on this map. On Icebox, exactly the same thing, right? You're just putting it in mid, you're never picking this up, right? You were never picking this up, so Icebox, again, doesn't really matter. Okay, Lotus though, Lotus is one where this will matter, because you were often doing, you know, it was very common to do this kind of setup like so, but of course, often you would try and pick up this orb and then throw it down here towards stairs, right? That was a very common play. We have seen some pro teams start to throw their orb something like this, you know, kind of create some pressure on C. Again, similar sort of deal where we can run out this way, we can run out this way. If you're doing that one, again, you might want to pick this up though and put it, you know, somewhere like Waterfall for kind of the post plant. So on this Lotus, it will matter. This, I still think Viper is strong enough and this wall is good enough that you still should be picking Viper on this map pretty much all the time, because Viper is just so strong. Split is another one where defense side, the orb in mid, again, the one snakebite, you will feel that. But again, this is so strong that you should stick with it. It's worth sticking with. And on attack side, again, if you're going for like the old school, you know, kind of orb here, you know, with the wall across, yeah, this is one that you might want to have picked up before, right? It's something that you might have picked up before. More commonly now, we're seeing kind of this orb over towards B, again, allowing you to threaten this. And this is one, again, that you might have wanted to pick up and throw towards Heaven or whatever, or CT, right, for the post plant. Sure, cool, whatever. I still think Viper is strong enough to where you still probably should be picking Viper on this map. And then Sunset. Sunset's the one where we have seen a bit of a lean away from Viper. You know, we're commonly seeing orbs in here somewhere towards A. And again, these are ones that you might want to pick up as you come towards A, right, and throw it somewhere like here. But I do think we are seeing a lean away from Viper and more to double initiator anyway on Sunset. So what I could basically see is Sunset, yeah, sure, maybe you don't see so much Viper anymore. Ascent, you know, Viper was already kind of in that niche area anyway on Ascent, probably not as much Viper anymore. But Breeze, still 100%. Icebox, still 100%. Lotus, still should be close to 100% in my opinion. Absolutely. Bind, I forgot as well, still should be close to 100% for Viper as long as you can walk down short. And Split as well should still be close to, maybe not 100%, but certainly up there, above 60, above 70 in my opinion. So still, I would recommend playing Split, Viper on Split. So you're still looking to me at like 5 of the 7 maps where you should play Viper, right? And some of you are going to be thinking like, what is he talking about? How can you be this Viper build? But the truth of the matter is there's so many little advantages that Viper gives you, right? The constant pressure throughout round is immense, right? I know they've obviously, with the smoke decreases, that's less than it was before, but it's still much It's still there, and it's still a very strong tool in Viper's kit. Being able to drop the wall, it's not a set timer. I can choose when to drop the wall. I can surprise you. I can go for a mid-reclear fight and you don't expect it because it's just a Viper wall and it's not on a timer. Like, those kind of things are very strong, right? Sometimes you only need the smoke to go up for 1 second. Sometimes you need the smoke to go up to 5 seconds. Sometimes you need it for the full 12, right? I get to choose that. You don't choose that with the other controllers. Astra can recall the star, but she can't do like a 5-second smoke, right? But sometimes you only need a 5-second smoke, right? And it's that kind of flexibility of Viper that's just so strong. And sure, the one snake bite does make Viper's stalling power less, right? Viper can stall less than she could before, but it's still better than probably Astra Gravwell right now. It's still better than what Harbor can stall. It's still better than what Clove can stall. You know, only really maybe Brim and maybe Omen. And really, I would say Viper is still probably better than Omen in that stalling capability. So really, it's only a Brim Molly that is probably better. And Brim obviously has obvious weaknesses elsewhere in his kit. So to me, Viper is still just better than most agents. There's really nothing else to say. Maybe Viper isn't the strongest agent in the game anymore by a mile. But I would still put Viper up there in the S tier agents, like, in my mind, no doubt. So yeah, Viper is not dead. Viper is just in the range of other agents now, whereas before she wasn't.